All right, you ready?
Ready.
Welcome back to 180 with Tay. So, think about your life as a whole. Like, are you thinking about the past, present, or future? You don't think so much about what you're learning in the moment. So, today, what we're going to get into is all of the different aspects of the state of mind that you're in when you're sober and when you're not. So, and just how you interpret the world can be totally different, like totally opposite ends, right? So, today we have Dominic here with us, and we met through work. And just like people do, he has some insights when it comes to alcohol. So, we're going to hear some of his experiences, and he's going to give us maybe some tips and just regular insight from people just like you, just like me. We have a past and we're going to talk about it. So, Dom, tell us about yourself.
My name is Dominic. I have a YouTube channel. I'm an engineer, and I was 6 years sober, relapsed, and now we're back at it again. I'm at about 8 months. So,
Congrats, though. 8 months. Hey, it happens. Those slip ups, they do happen.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, you
Yes.
beat yourself up, but then you get right back to it.
Well, first, just so everyone knows, we'll tag his YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that. But when it comes to hobbies, as we've kind of grown up, just people in general, alcohol has always been at every event, every like fun hobby that you do. When you go snowboarding, I mean, obviously not you when you're sober, but people are drinking. Hobbies sometimes go along with alcohol. So when you were not drinking and as you are not now, what are some tips that you could give when it comes to not drinking and doing these activities like these social events with your friends?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I was the type of guy that we would schedule like a whole weekend of going out, with your dirt bikes or going out camping with your friends and your buddies, and there was always alcohol included. There was no question about it. And I slowly started to realize that the people I was mostly with were actually the ones that were always drinking. So when I stopped drinking, I think my best advice is that you surround yourself, I think, with people that are well or like-minded like you.
Like-minded.
Especially in the beginning. The beginning's tough, because it's so easy to just, hey, I can go to the store and buy a beer, or I can go to the
Right.
store and get
It's
some
so
liquor.
accessible. It's
Yeah,
everywhere. Yeah.
and then it's even at like 15, 14, you were able to go to the liquor
Mhm.
store and just pick something. I
Going through
mean,
the
not me, I look like
drive-through,
I'm
just
12, but
yeah, totally.
but yeah, I would say that definitely have really good support group with
The
you.
people around you have a lot to do
Yeah,
with it.
yeah.
And I feel like in that case too, your self-control is the biggest part of that. So I feel like when you're explaining that, like just make sure you're around people that can have your back in that way. I feel like that's really important. So that is a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. You can always go by the fire, but eventually you're going to get burned. So, you know,
Beautiful. Yes, that is a good one. So, I guess if you're comfortable with it, give us a little bit about your past with drinking and what, made you stop per se.
yeah, for sure. Let's get to the nitty gritty. I
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
say, I think I was, younger. I was constantly drinking. Didn't have a father figure for the most part, and decided I needed to prove myself to my friends or peers around me. I was always the smallest guy too, to be honest. So I had to go big. Everyone that I hung out with was like 6 foot tall or joined the military.
You had to take that extra step up.
I just had to outdrink them or had to be
Oh
faster than them.
no.
I had to be, and it's the worst too, because I'm a little guy, and I don't know. I was super aggressive. I had to be way more aggressive than everyone else. I had to be, and there was this kind of machismo, status that you had to do. So
Yep.
from like 17 on, I was just constantly drinking, constantly trying to be better than everyone. And
And you're from Orange County, right?
I'm from LA County, but I moved to Orange County,
Okay.
and that's funny, right? Because I moved to Orange County when I was a senior or like a junior, and I could come up with whoever I wanted to be, and so I totally did, and it did not work in my favor because I ended up getting
At
into
least it
harder
wasn't
stuff.
that big of a culture shock when you went from those
No,
different counties.
it's not, but
That's
it's
too
just
bad.
you could
But you were
be
able to recreate yourself. I see what you did
exactly.
there.
Exactly. And you could be like, I'm from LA County. Because Orange County back then, when you're young, you're like, dude, this is far. There's nothing here. But boy, did I know when I was young
Yeah,
here.
right.
So I guess, yeah, I started drinking a lot. And then I had a kid young. Yeah, I was 20 years old and I had my son. And I was a wreck. I was a wreck. I was not ready to be a father. And
That's a
the
lot.
person that I had a kid with, they said, even the doctors told me, like, they're not gonna have, you can't have children, blah blah blah. And April Fools, here we are, right?
Oh my
Almost 10
goodness.
years later.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it was the best thing and worst thing at the same time. I'd say best because it really shaped me up. I think
Definitely a big eye opener.
yeah, for sure. I think I was arrested at one point and I was like, okay, you know what? I was away from my family, I was away from my kid, and I remember I was in a bus stop. I was on the bus transportating to the next courtroom, right? And we're supposed to have this
Mhm.
big conversation. I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but
No, it's okay. Absolutely. Go ahead.
and this kid was next to me and he's like, hey, can I get the window? And I was like, bro, you're good, just take the window, man, whatever, I don't care. Right? We're not gonna fight over that. And there's a guy behind me. He's like, dude, thank God you did that because that guy would have killed you.
He's trying
He's
to
like,
test you.
yeah, he's 18 years old and he's got life. And that was just like, I could be that dude right there. I mean, right
Right.
there with him, right next to me, just doing life. And he
Makes you
just wanted the
grateful.
window, yeah, for 5 minutes. And I'm like, I'm out of here in like 2 days, dude. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But I
it
mean,
was,
seeing people go through that, it does make you realize, like, oh shit, you
yeah.
know, it could be way worse.
It could be so much worse. It could be in a way worse situation. So I think that moment I was like, okay, I'm not gonna drink anymore.
So
And
that's when you
funny,
literally just cut the ties and stopped.
yeah, because I got picked up. My sister picked me up, which is awful, right? I'm like 22 or 23. My sister had to pick me up. It's like 2 in the morning or 1. And she's like, let's go to a party, And I was like,
Oh
I
no.
was like,
Straight to the party out of jail.
yeah.
No.
So what did I do? I was like, yeah, all right, so that's fine.
Oh, you
Sounds
went.
like a good time. Because why not? I'm 20, 22, 23 now. So we go to this party and everyone's just drinking. And I just was like, I just want to go home at this point. So my identity was so tied with alcohol. It was, I
People that
couldn't,
drink nowadays, that's how it is. Like I
yeah. Because you're like, okay, I'm not the party person anymore because I'm not drinking. And so the people that you're hanging out with don't, I don't know. It just
distant.
felt like you were an imposter. You
Okay.
ever had imposter syndrome where you're like, you feel
Is
like you're
this
not good
really? I
enough or you're not the person that you're supposed to be for this or you don't deserve it type of
feel like that's like an
situation.
existential crisis too. You're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just felt like that was, whether it was because I was in a relationship at the time and I felt that the identity when we met each other was no longer that person. And I could see our relationship was just getting worse.
hmm
And I'm like,
Mostly if
oh,
they're still drinking and you're
yeah.
trying to not, like, you can just automatically see where that's going to be a problem too.
Yeah, and it got worse fast, because I'm trying to be sober now, and the person, unfortunately, right, I had caused so much problems in the beginning that they're like, okay, my turn now.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna switch this and you're gonna feel karma
it's
really
it's
fast.
funny because life will do that. You'll try to do the right
Absolutely.
thing, and then everything you did in the past like catches up to
Oh,
you at one
totally.
point.
So we were talking a little bit. I was kind of asking you some questions beforehand. And one of the things that you brought up, how you were talking about like paying it forward. And you said, I think you said that your brother really instilled that paying it forward into you. What you don't think about when you're drinking is anything about that. You're literally only thinking about curing your problems, getting drunk, or maybe having fun if it's in a positive light. But you don't think about how you could give back to other people. You don't think how you could benefit other people. And like for you with your YouTube channel, you're passionate about something and you feel like you could, give insight to people about car content and it's rad. So you do, and that's badass. And like for me, I finally, once I came out of the fog of drinking, I wanted to try to help people, be able to talk about drinking. It seems so like we just drink, we don't talk about it. So us just having that want to help other people or show other people things or educate other people in some type of way, you don't think about that when you are drinking. What kind of is your insight on the paying it forward side of things?
You know, my brother, right? He really taught me. He really instilled that. I didn't realize how selfish I was. Now I'm 30 now, until just recently, and I think it's different when you see it from a different perspective, right? So being drunk, you're not really in that moment. You're more so like, how can I get higher, pretty much, right? You're
Yeah.
more like, how can I just either take away the problems that I have or avoid the problems that I have or forget about, tomorrow and just kind of live in today, which is totally fine. But when I started seeing, I guess, my vision of success, like actually happening right in front of me, I think it totally changed my perspective on life, right? Because this person who I thought was successful is the most giving person and compassionate and passionate person. And it was just so backwards thinking because I was so used to, you have to fend for yourself. You have to take care of yourself. No one's going to take care of you. It's all on you. It's all on you. Right. And I think even seeing like my brother, right, he has also a life that was very difficult and also unforgiving, and I guess there was no mercy on that end. But for that person to come out strong and you to see that, you're like, dude, there's no excuse.
Right.
Like the amount of love and compassion and caring that you give to people, and people you don't even know. I mean, not to an extent, right? You don't want them obviously taking advantage of you, but I don't know how to say the better words, but I guess he doesn't really care what he gets in return. I know I'm
Right.
missing it, but
Selflessly.
yeah, selflessly.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yep.
That's perfect.
Totally. I love that. So in the 8 months sober that you've been now, which is a great feat, what would you say is different this time? Because obviously there's maybe a little bit more that, you can't really like let yourself as loose, maybe. I don't know. What would you say there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? After being, I think the problem was at 6 years, I think it was about 28, 29 years old. And I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm good. Like, I think I cured it. Like, I'm totally fine without alcohol. Like this, I'll be fine. Like I was probably a kid and I just couldn't handle it. And that was the worst lie I think I could tell myself.
Interesting. Okay.
It was just the fact that I could handle it. And I learned really freaking fast that I cannot handle it. I think I had saved like a good amount of money. I was doing very good in my my job. I was like feeling finally like I was hitting a little bit of a success path, and then I just drank it all away. I felt like I just crashed, and I really hurt a lot of people that I care about, and I lost a lot of people that I also cared about in that process, which was just a year ago. So it's like it's kind of crazy to be here and to talk to you, like it's
Yeah.
but just to give you a perspective is like how quickly you can do it, and you
Right.
don't notice it until like you're already way out of that spectrum. So then it's crazy because then everything just comes back and it hits you, but you just have to be able to push on. And so I think now what's different is just understanding the cost. Like, what is the cost of me, whether it's a DUI, whether it's a felony for abuse, or whether it's crashing into someone or killing someone.
Right.
That is such a big cost for such a small reward. Like, what is
Right.
the freaking reward of
Right.
getting drunk,
The
right?
return of reward is very
Yeah,
minimal.
what's the ROI on
Right.
drinking? Really, like you really think about it, you go, okay, one
A
beer
little bit of fun every now and then.
is like 90
It's that.
calories, 80 calories if you're a health nut, and or it's like but I get it, like I totally get it. But really, for me, I guess you could say, from my opinion, is telling you that the ROI for me is not worth it. So the why is a lot more important to me, whether it's business, future, family, friends. That is a lot more important than what I get in return of drinking. So
Beautiful. Absolutely. And it should be like that, right? You would think it could just be that easy, but we have to remind ourselves.
find what you're passionate about, find your purpose. For me, I think, again, just what success is for me and what I want. Nothing. I'm very disciplined, and so I know where I want to go, and that's my path right now. Nothing else is going to deter me. And typically, whether it's friends and family, if they really, really mean something, they're a part of that. They're a part of my life. And
Those
that's how I
goals.
think you have to be
Yep.
in that situation where you're like, okay, what's the rate of return on this? Right? What's the ROI?
Look, I'm gonna rename the episode to ROI. Okay.
What's the ROI? Yeah. I like that. But it's really like, are your friends are they giving you something? Are you giving them something?
Right.
What are you getting out of the situation? Because life is short. It really
Right.
is. So I work, 10 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours. I have my YouTube and I try to post every day. Right. And that's new.
That blew my mind.
Now, on top of that, you have to, your relationships are important, and then your friendships, but you start
can't isolate yourself.
Right. It's easy. It's so easy. You're like, okay, should I go out with my friends, or should I, podcast or, stay home? Right.
See, but that's the thing though, like your YouTube channel, the podcast, I do always feel like I have something to work on. And when I was constantly drinking, I didn't have anything that I was working on for me. There was no hobby. It was just like, I was just existing in the world, working.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'm going to second with you on that as well. That's one thing that I noticed is in the situation when I started drinking, I didn't have like a financial plan. I didn't have like a how to invest, or where do you learn to invest, or, what's 401k, or what's a FSA for kids, or what's a IRA. I didn't know any of that stuff. And I think the feeling of myself not knowing, I think, kind of made me feel like, okay, I'm just going to kind of drink it away. Right. And I think once you start to have your plan, like you said, you have that plan, and you have your purpose or your drive. You're like, okay, nothing else matters at this point.
Right. Basically, what I wanted today to be about was how it can go back and forth. Like you can be so sure about something, and then you convince yourself, hey, I can drink a little bit, like it's all good. I think it's really important to look inward, like actually think about how it can affect you in the future. Think about how it's affecting you now. Learn from everything that we've had to learn from in the past, right? What's closing thoughts do you have for us?
Anything can change, right? Your mindset can change. But I think you really, at the end of the day, you have to remember why. That's just my biggest statement I could say. Remember your why. Why are you doing this? Do you want a better life? Do you want to live healthier? Do you want to spend a bunch of money on alcohol, or, deal with the consequences? If you're that person that can control yourself and not go overboard, then fine. There's people like that.
Yeah.
Just know, are you that person? And if you aren't, then, don't do it. It's just, it's
but you're
tough.
right. The why is so important. And it doesn't even have to be the biggest why, like something that's important to you. That's all it has to be. That's like literally all it takes. So thank you so much for being here. Everybody go subscribe to Dom's YouTube channel. We'll have it all linked. And thank you again for being here. Thank you for all your insight. And I will talk to you soon.